Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers. I can't tell you, I can tell you, I'm telling you right now, how much it means to me. It is, I mentioned this in Monday's roundup or whatever it is, but it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I'm truly grateful, which I feel I've said before, but I will still say it again. It is not something that I take lightly. It's something I truly appreciate. And you're all genuinely a part of it. You've been part of it in the past, you're gonna be part of it in the future, you're gonna be part of it in this video. And what I mean by that is, in addition to subscribing, in addition to viewing, in addition to commenting, to liking, even disliking, honestly, they all help the algorithm, so I'm cool with that too. But a big part of it as well has been the feedback. Not just the feedback when I ask for it, but the ideas. I frequently get comments. Comments, responses, or any number of different things that represent people's opinions of how things could be done differently to improve their experience. And it means a lot. It really does. It's not like that typical, your feedback's welcome, thank you so much, while completely writing it off. There are certainly times where I will not incorporate a piece of feedback, whether asked for or volunteered, but that's because you have to take into account everyone, and you often get conflicting pieces of information. So just one example, for instance, is talking fast is a good example, where I will occasionally get comments asking if I can or should slow down, and by the way, they're generally incredibly polite. The way almost all feedback has been given, almost all, with like rare exceptions, is incredibly polite in a way that I could not be happier with the presentation. But when I get a comment saying, hey, the one thing I would change is if you would slow down a bit, I mean, that's great, and I would take into account, except I also get people who like how fast I talk, and I have people who say they watch me at, 1.5 times speed, which is insane to me. But, I mean, whenever I have conflicting pieces of feedback, that's when I am less likely, or not less likely, that's when I have to factor in the conflicting part. Or sometimes I'll get feedback that I know it's something I want to do, such as more B-roll doing my reviews, and that's something I want to do, but that represents the difference between doing this YouTube channel and a daily video while having a side job, by having a full-time day job, a side job, a wife and 4 kids, playing board games, and the channel. So yeah, B-roll's gonna wait. But it's not that I don't want to. It's that there is a difference between what I hope to do with the videos now versus if or when I am ever doing this full-time, which I expect to be like a 5-10 year journey, honestly. I don't expect this to be something I walk into and just suddenly I'm a full-time content creator. I'm fine with the idea that it's a slow burn, and that's fine. But my point is, rambling aside, is I like and appreciate your feedback. Many things in this channel are things that I do because people either gave me feedback when I asked for it or offered their own opinions along the way. Things like timestamps. Timestamps are something that I get a ton of people who are grateful for the timestamps in those videos, and they are something I never thought to do. They're something that I got a few people back in there when I first put the first few months I putting out videos. I had people who would ask for timestamps, and once it became more than the occasional request, once there were a bunch of people asking it, well, at that point I adjust and try to start adding them, and they have become a staple of the channel. Which in some of my hour-long videos they effectively become, well, essential. But that's something that I didn't think of. There are many other things, things like the difference in audio quality or whatever, and all that. Anytime someone ever complained in my older videos before I got new equipment, or even now when I sometimes will have some sort of hum or who knows what, whatever the issues are, when I have people who tell me that it bothers them, that is how I know that it's something I can improve upon. And again, it doesn't mean that I listen to every individual piece of feedback, but the collective matters. Anytime that an opinion is expressed on a more common basis, it helps guide me in what this channel can be. And to be very clear, I have boundaries. I will never do something that makes it not fun for me. I will never do something that makes it problematic. I will push back on things that don't work. But there is a huge spot in the middle of things that work, things that can improve the channel for myself, improve the channel for you, and are just things that I haven't necessarily either thought of or represent opinions that I don't know what people are looking for. An example would be, two recent examples would be, recently, like a few weeks ago, I asked for feedback on my review format. And I had a few people who preferred my older review format, where I had more of a, here's my turns, here's how to play, like more in-depth, versus the vast majority of people wanted more of a short overview and then my opinion. And so I went with the vast majority, because I thought I was trying to provide more information, and to an extent I was, but more isn't necessarily better. Similarly, I had a lot of, recently I had this thing with my Kickstarter videos where I asked about a segment in the beginning and the end, in terms of adding to the length of my Monday roundups, but potentially adding value. And again, overall, people wanted it. Some people had, like, some people did talk about how it is getting a little long, but even any of you, or them or you, whoever I'm talking to, were incredibly respectful about the fact that, still gonna watch, still enjoy, but yes, this is my opinion, which again, I appreciate that kind of feedback. I really do. But that's 6 minutes of me talking about the fact that I appreciate your opinions. I genuinely want them. As long as they are delivered respectfully, they help guide me in what is a win-win. Like I said, like B-roll being an example, I won't do something that isn't a fit for me right now, but I still want to know that things are wanted. I still want to know how to adjust, how to deliver the best possible experience for you. This isn't me talking to a camera. I mean, it inherently is me talking to a camera. Can't lie about that. But the point is, it's supposed to be more than that. It's supposed to be a conversation, and that's one of the reasons I try to reply to every comment, or as many as I possibly can. This isn't a faceless thing back and forth. This is me being a part of the conversation. I look forward to conventions. When conventions become a thing again, and I can go to conventions and meet some of you, or meet many of you, hopefully. I don't know, but it's not meant to be just me and the camera. It's meant to be all of us. And speaking of which, speaking of all of us, speaking of community, something I mentioned, I've mentioned this in the past, but I haven't mentioned it in a while. We do have a Discord community, part of the Quack Discord community. We have a little sub BoardGameCo community, and that's something I'll include an invite in the description down below. But I'd love to have you there. I'd love to have you come join the conversation. I am not there as frequently as I would like to be, but if you ever tag my name, and this is to active Discord members as well as anyone who joins, if you tag my name, then like that little ghost, Mary ghost thingy, and say Mary 3 times, I don't know, in the mirror, I will show up. I don't always monitor every thread because busy, but if you tag my name, I will show up and try to find out what you're asking for, and you can get me pretty quickly that way, honestly. You can get me doing whatever. I'll just be like, oh, someone tagged me. I'll get a little ping on my phone. Oh yeah, I am back in that Kickstarter. So if you ever want quote-unquote instant access, hop on over there. Same thing with everything else I do on the channel. As long as I can keep up with it, I will do my best to keep up with it. Similarly, along those lines, I have a podcast together with Quacklope that most of you already know about, probably, the Weekly Quack. Whether or not you are an active listener of the podcast, we do have a podcast Facebook group now called the Weekly Quack Podcast, or the Quacklope Podcast. I don't remember the name of the Facebook group, but I'll include a link to that down below. Feel free to come join that conversation as well. If Facebook is more your thing than Discord, we are now having conversations over there as well. We may have a larger Facebook group at some point, but for right now, we have the Quacklope Podcast Facebook group, which is not about the podcast. It is driven by the podcast to a degree. You'll have questions, conversations about things that happen in the podcast. You'll spark conversations. We'll gather input. We'll gather all kinds of different things. So it is centered around the podcast to a degree. But you could never watch a single episode of the podcast and you'll still feel right at home, or as much as we hopefully can get you at home. And while you're there, by the way, please do me a favor and pay attention to the recent amount of trolling we are doing to Jesse in terms of, I started this, I'm very proud of, one of the prouder moments of my week, honestly, but I balded Jesse, I shaved him, I put him through a Baldify app and put that on the group, and since then people have taken their own initiative and started to come up with picture after picture with Jesse in different formats, trying to just screw with whatever is going on there. And so if you would like to join in on that, if you would like to, join the Facebook group and then do some horrific Photoshop or app change to Jesse, that would be great. If we can keep this going for a while, nothing would make me happier. Well, many things would make me happier, but it would be high up on my list of things that make me happy. I do enjoy trolling a bit. I do enjoy trolling Jesse in particular. I also enjoy a bit of, I don't know, I'm a bit of a tease, a bit of a troll at times, and you probably know that by now. I try to, it's fascinating. I always try to be like genuine to a degree, but also play games to a degree. That's why you'll find the occasional video, like once a month I'll throw up a video with a slightly clickbaity title. And I try to back it up with the content. I try to make the conversation interesting, but it's something that both works for YouTube's algorithms, and also I enjoy it. I enjoy having fun talking about things or provoking conversations that others aren't necessarily doing. I hope I don't cross too many lines. I'm sure that there are times where you have disagreed with me or thought I went too far, but when I do, just call me out on it, and I'll take it into account. That's the feedback process. See, we're back to the feedback process. But past that, I have a list of things I want to talk about today, which is a decently long video, So we'll see how that plays out. Timestamps down below, you see. Again, back to that. It's all full cycle. Everything's full cycle here. But to begin with, publisher relationships and disclosures. So just nothing new here. This is something that we talk about whenever I have one of these channel updates. But in terms of publisher relationships, it's still the same thing it has continued to be for a while now, which is I am continuously trying to grow my engagement and involvement with publishers. I am still turning down money. I mean, I've had offers for money in the past already, and I've currently been turning them down. The way I view it is, like I said, I'm trying to take a long-term game. There will certainly be a point, especially if or when I make the move to full-time, where I feel the need to take money from publishers, and I'll have to figure out how to play that game. But for right now, I would like to push that off as long as possible, because there's a degree of trust that I would like to engender, and my hope is that if I ever do start taking money from publishers, my hope is that you can still trust my opinion, but I recognize that that is asking a lot, and so I want to kick that bucket down the road as much as possible. So no real change. I am continuously growing my relationship with publishers, continuously trying to work more and more with them, continuously giving my honest feedback as to whether I like a game or don't like a game. And it's rarely trashing it these days. I'm not going to trash a game that I get from a publisher, speaking frankly. If I really think it's that bad, I will probably turn down the opportunity to do a video. But I'm taking a slightly less Rado-like approach. Rado, if you don't know, he takes an approach of, if he likes the game, he covers the game. If he doesn't like the game, he doesn't cover the game. I'm not going that far. I don't have a problem with it. I completely understand where it comes from. But for myself, I'm taking the approach of, if I think the game is bad, just the word bad, then I will not cover the game. But there's a difference between bad versus I can see why others like this versus this is a game for me. And anything past bad, I will cover the game. If it's a game, and there are many different degrees of that. There are different, I don't want to list titles, but there are different degrees of games that I have covered on this channel for Kickstarter reviews, where I have liked to varying degrees. But more often, it's pretty rare that a game is straight up bad, in my opinion. More often than not, it is a situation where I can see the good in the game, and I can see the bad in the game, and for my own personal preferences, here's why it tilts one way or the other. And those are the reviews that you can expect to see. A game that I didn't keep does not mean it's a bad game. There are many games in the top 100 I have chosen not to keep, and that will be true for Kickstarter as well. But at least I can give you insight into what turned it off for me, and you can decide for yourself if those are problems for you. I love it when I see comments after I do a review, when I see comments saying, oh, I see why you said that, but I'm going to back it anyway, or I see why you like it, but I'm not going to back it because of this, this, and this. I love those comments. That to me tells me that you are not purely just listening to my opinion, which, I mean, that's great too, but rather that you are finding the specific pros and cons that I said and making an informed choice around those. And I love that. I have no problem with my opinion pushing people one way or the other, especially if you find that we align on games. But the idea that I could hurt a project, or possibly almost as bad as that, push you into backing. Let's take Endless Winter. Endless Winter is a great example. It's a game that I love, but it does not mean that you will love it. Just because I love it does not mean that you will. And so I am as nervous about my excitement pushing you into a bad choice as I am about my lack of excitement pushing you away from a game that might be great for you. So I will have my opinion. I will try to inject my passion as much as possible, but I will also temper that with the facts as well as I can reasonably see them. But I guess that is the publisher relationships thing. As far as disclosures, so something I've been wrestling with for a while now is I have regularly, and I've announced it most of the time. I don't want to say I've announced it all the time because I don't know if I have, but I have regularly, after I did a review of a game that I loved for a Kickstarter, I have regularly had a publisher offer me a pledge, like, oh, by the way, since you've done content, we'll give you a pledge. And to be very clear, I do not turn that down. The question I have for you, and this is the next part of your feedback, your opinion that I want to have, is do you want to know that? To what degree do you want me to tell you, by the way, and by the way, sometimes I don't find out until after the fact. Sometimes after I've done the review, after whatever, the publisher will reach out and tell me. Now, I have no problem taking them because primarily I only take them when I like the game to begin with. A good example would be Planet Apocalypse. Planet Apocalypse was a game that I chose not to keep, but I had reached out to the publisher asking them for a copy of the game to review for the Kickstarter. They said they can't get me one in time, but if I got my hands on a copy, they would happily reimburse me or send me extras or whatever it was. And so I got the game, and I liked the game, but did not want to keep it in my collection just because it was competing in a narrow space. And so I specifically never reached out to them to get reimbursed for the copy that I got, because I as long as I'm taking free games, I kind of want to keep that balance where I'm only taking it if I like it. Because mentally, for my own mental head games, if I can sit there and say, well, I'm not taking a game unless I like the game, well, then that's pretty simple. Because if I like the game, great, I save myself money, I don't have to back the game myself, I'll get the game. And if I didn't like the game, I'm not being biased by free goods because, well, I'm not taking anything. I hope that makes sense. So I'm trying to pitch this idea that I'm only getting a benefit in the sense that if I like the game, which should hopefully not bias me. But that's basically it. So I guess my question is, do you want to know, and to what degree? Keeping in mind that, again, I don't always know in advance. Sometimes I get, told, especially if I have a relationship, sometimes I'll know in advance, but more often than not, I will find out, after I've done the review, after I've done the content, they'll be like, oh, by the way, we want to, give you an all-in pledge or whatnot, which is great. Again, I'll take it if I like the game. But to be clear, I'm not asking permission with that. What I'm asking is, I want to know what level you want that disclaimed, because my problem is I always feel the need to rationalize or explain everything. And I don't like if I'm in the middle of a video where I'm talking about, oh, and the publisher, they're giving me a game, but it doesn't really matter. I don't want to have to overly explain myself every single time. I'm more than happy putting in the description or doing a brief mention, but I do want your feedback as to what you care about there. A few other random things, and again, this random stuff here, is Amazon referral links. I saw a comment or a question asking why I was putting Amazon referral links, which I just started doing, in my videos if I have BoardGameCo. Why don't I just link to that? And the answer is twofold. One is, we don't always have in stock the games I'm talking about. BoardGameCo has we are more of like a Tuesday morning kind of situation where we have a lot of good deals, but we don't have consistency the way I would like. And to that end, since we don't have the consistency I would like, I link to where you can actually buy the game, as opposed to where on our end, you may or may not have it in stock. We may or may not have it in stock. The second reason is actually far more interesting, which is I did Amazon links as an experiment like a few months ago on like 2 videos. And then I checked the date on it just last week. And I did get referral income from that. I got it wasn't a lot, it was like $20 for like 2 videos worth of links. But what's fascinating to me is that it wasn't from people buying the games listed in the description. The bulk of it, like 3/4 of it, were from the fact that they went to Amazon, then they shopped around and bought some other thing, and then I got referral link income from that. So it's not just the games that are interesting here, rather it's the idea that if you click on those links and you buy your batteries or your meeple pillows or your who knows what, apparently I get referral income for that too. So if you want to support the channel, head on over to those Amazon links for whatever games I'm talking about, and then go ahead and do your yogurt shopping. I don't know. But in any case, it does help. It's just, all these things are all tools to get to a point where I can call this a full-time thing. And the more side revenues I can get, the more I can get the Patreon up, the more I can get YouTube ad revenue, the more I can get Amazon referral revenue. If I can build this channel in such a way that I never take money from publishers, I will do so. I'm not looking to get rich off YouTube, I'm just trying to do content creation full time. And with a family of 4, that's not a cheap proposition. I can't leave my day job because I'm getting, a few $100 of ad revenue. That's not how it works. So the more the overall picture builds up, and the more, and we'll see, it's like I said, it's a 5-10 year journey. I don't really care how long it takes. But the more those things all add to a collective picture of me, actually being able to make it as a content creator, well, then the more I will shift towards doing content creation full time. So that's Amazon links. Past that, what else do we have? So we have guys versus gals. So this is one. So this is specifically directed to the roughly 5% of my audience, according to YouTube, that is female. And by the way, I'm actually very happy with those numbers because that's actually higher than the hobby in general. So I don't know what other board game content creators are, but I know geek culture in general, it's very heavily male dominated, and especially the audiences as well. So first of all, any of the ladies out there, thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of the channel, because I like having 5%. I'd rather get it to 10%. I'd rather, the more inclusive this hobby can be, the better. And this is not going to become a whole political thing or whatever it is. The point is, I welcome everyone and I like everyone being here. But as part of that, I do find myself, so this is a question specifically to that 5%. I generally find myself saying guys about things. Thanks guys for being here. Thank you so much for your help, guys, or whatever it is. And I am more than fine. Forget that. I want to temper my speech and change it and be more inclusive if it's something that you're sensitive to. I don't want to in any way exclude anyone because I just say guys as opposed to guys and gals, or to all of you. So I am specifically interested in the feedback And to be very clear, if you don't feel comfortable saying it in a comment because you feel that, if you don't feel comfortable saying it in a comment, email me directly, alex@boardgameco.com. I would love to have your feedback as far as whether you would prefer a different language in terms of just being more inclusive. Does guys make you feel like I'm not talking to you? Or is it just something people say? Like, I know a lot of people say it. I don't know if it bothers you. And so I'm intrigued. I want to know. I want to know more in that sense. Past that, Saturday reviews. So Saturday reviews is a experiment that I started after the last channel update I did. Specifically thanks to Jeremy Howard for that one. He actually came up with the idea of just call one day review day and just put all your reviews out on that day. And so that day became Saturday. It's an interesting experiment. My Saturday videos tend to do significantly not as well as my other videos, but I am watching those numbers for the long haul. A review has more long-term staying power as opposed to as opposed to my topical videos or my Kickstarter videos. People are going to be looking for a review of a lot longer than they're going to be looking for should I back the Kickstarter. So I am curious how that plays out long term. I'll be keeping an eye on those numbers. For right now, Saturday is still review day. It's a painful experiment partially because the numbers get hurt not just because they are reviews, which are my less popular format, but also because I'm doing multiple videos in one day. And because of the fact that I'm doing multiple videos in one day, the notifications get all screwed up. YouTube's recommendations in terms of showing you videos or suggesting videos gets all screwed up. When you come to my page, it gets screwed up because you just click on the most recent video or something like that. So the whole thing gets kind of messed up. It is an experiment that I'm working on. The problem is if I do one video a day, then I can't put out as many reviews as I would like. If I do more than one video a day, then we hit that. It's an experiment. That's what it comes down to. So it's an experiment I'm keeping my eye on, trying to see how they play out, and we'll see on that. Speaking of reviews, one of the things that I wrestle with in my reviews is in all my reviews, in addition to my opinion, my pros and cons, my final thoughts, I specifically say whether I am keeping the game or not. Which feels weird. It's not something that most other content creators do. I know there are people like, for instance, One Stop Co-op Shop will do reviews and then a month later or 6 months later, I think, he'll say how the game held up or not. Which is more similar to my games leaving the collection video. But I'm curious about, do you like the fact that I say whether I'm keeping a game or not? Because what's weird, what strikes me as so bizarre is there are games that I think are good games. Pipeline is a good example of a good game. But it's not a game that I'm keeping. Shadow Network, which I just did a review for the Kickstarter, is a game that is a good game. It's a solid game. I would happily play it again, and it feels weird to rate it not just on its own merits and assigning it a score, but to say, well, it's a good game and this, and I'm not keeping it. Why not just assign a score to it? What do you prefer? Do you prefer what's happening, what I'm doing, whether it's a game for me? Do you prefer I label it with a score? Do you want both? And I've avoided scores for a reason because my own scoring system is very different than the typical, and so I'd have to switch to a 1 to 10 typical scoring system because I wouldn't want to have to explain that when I give a game a 3 out of 5 or a 2 out of 5, it's not as bad as you actually think, because I have my own scoring system that I use. But I'd have to switch it so I don't have to explain every single video what I'm doing. But yeah, let me know if you want a scoring system, and let me know if you like the fact that I tell you whether I'm keeping the game or not, because I want to know I want to know your opinion. What do you look for in the content that I'm doing? Past that, unboxings. So Yudo over here, speaking of Yudo, which I put over here for a reason, this is potentially over here for an unboxing video. Let me know in the comments whether you want me to do an unboxing of this game, and games in general. So for example, a very heavy miniature-based game, I don't know, if I get Ultra Quest for instance, I might end up doing an unboxing, but similar to my reviews, they are among my less popular content, and I don't know, I just don't feel, I'm happy to do them. I just don't feel the rush to do them. So if you want to see them, let me know. If I get enough comments asking for an unboxing of Yudo so you can see what you're getting in terms of your sleeves, your coins, your wooden pieces, all this stuff over here, plus what's in here. If you want to see that kind of stuff, let me know. Maybe I'll just turn it into a thing where I ask people, here are the games I think I have coming, let me know if you want unboxings of them. And I'll have to see whether I put them on their own dedicated day, cram them into Review Saturday. I'll have to see how I play that out, but again, the point is, I want to know what you want to see. Thumbnails. Thumbnails, if you've noticed recently, my review thumbnails, and not just my reviews, but anything in which including this video, anything in which I am sitting on a couch over here, sitting by my table, has a very different thumbnail than they used to. Instead of me holding a stack of games and whatever it is, I don't know. Instead of that, I now just have a clip of myself against the thumbnail. Now, speaking for myself, I love that. I I started doing it, I think my first video was Endless Winter. I like it significant. I started doing it because I basically hated the old thumbnails. I thought they were, not hate is a strong word. I did not think that the thumbnails in which I was holding a stack of games were as, I like the overall design of my thumbnails, but I didn't like the me in the thumbnails. It didn't seem as I don't know. I just didn't like it, is the point. And I liked them a lot more when I switched to doing a cutout of me against the thing. I like it significantly more, having the little box on the side or the meeples, whatever you want to see here. But let me know your feedback. What do you like or not like? Did you prefer the old thumbnails? Do you prefer the new thumbnails? Do you think there's still something better you want to see? I don't know. Thumbnails are important, by the way. They are a huge part of YouTube's algorithm, an absolutely huge part in terms of what people are more or less likely to click on, and therefore will YouTube show them. That's why you get clickbaity titles, clickbaity thumbnails, because people will click on them, and that it helps the algorithm, unfortunately. Past that, other media. Let's say we're almost done, we're wrapping up here, but other media. So two things. One is TikTok. Should I experiment with TikTok? I have no clue. If I downloaded the TikTok app yesterday for the first time, and it occurred to me, I don't know, maybe I'll just do some TikTok videos. I'm curious about building followings in other places. And there's multiple options. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's TikTok, there's Twitch. I don't know which ones I'm experimenting with yet, but to begin with, and I started being more active on Instagram as well again. Not significantly so, but I started posting a few pictures here and there. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll include a link down below. So if you want to see just me posting, a picture of a game we're playing, or hey, review coming this Saturday for this game, stuff like that. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll include that below. TikTok, I am very curious as to any of you, if you're on TikTok or if you watch TikTok things on board games, I don't know. I have never watched a TikTok in my life until like 2 days ago. I'm sure if they made their way to YouTube, who knows what. But basically, TikTok is a platform I have not experimented with, but I'm curious if any of you are on it, and I'm curious what I can potentially do with it or not do with it. Again, I just like the content creation. I like continuously growing the community, growing the people, and trying different ways to interact. And speaking of which, Twitch is something I did start doing recently. Twitch is just another opportunity to engage with you. It's an opportunity to, if I want to take a break and play Slay the Spire for 20 minutes, I can do it on Twitch. And I can double up my time in terms of playing Slay the Spire while focusing on building this community. So I like the idea of that. I like the idea of when Far Cry 6 comes out, I can download Far Cry 6 and play it on Twitch, doubling up my time. So if any of you watch people on Twitch, let me know what you would want to see. Do you want to see me playing board games on Twitch? Do you want to see me playing video games? Do you not care at all because you are not someone who watches Twitch? Again, YouTube to me is my dominant space, at least as of right now. I don't anticipate that changing really. But I am curious what you like, what you would watch elsewhere, what other platforms you are on. And this is all an experiment. Because like I said, for me, the long-term goal is full-time content creation. And that might mean having to branch out into different spaces. It might mean more than just YouTube in order to really push us off. Or it might mean that I should really just focus on YouTube and everything else is just going to distract from that. So it's all a balance. We'll figure it out together. And lastly, I have a goal. It's a pipe dream, but I have a goal of hitting 20,000 subs by the end of the year. By December 31st or whatnot. January 1st is acceptable too. Which would be 80 subs per day, which is high. That's a high number. It's not a number I typically average. I have had spikes where I hit that kind of numbers, but holding that kind of progression for 2 full months would be hard. It's another 5,000 subs or 4,800 subs in 60 days. I think that'd be cool. It's just a number. It's just a goal. It's important to have goals. I don't have any specific plans, but if I do, they'll likely involve giveaways. They typically have. So again, I don't have anything specific. I might come up with something soon. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that's just, I'm just letting you know I have a goal. I'll see what I can do to hit that goal. We'll try. We'll figure things out. That's everything. That's everything I want to cover. That covers everything from unboxings, the meeples, the Amazon referral links, guys versus gals, reviews, previews, who knows what. Anything else you want to cover, anything I talked about in this episode, take notes. I do the Q&As. I've really enjoyed the Q&As, by the way. I'm having a lot of fun with the Q&As, and you can expect to see more of those. So if you have any follow-ups, obviously comments down below are a possible place for that, as well as the Q&A. I try not to have anything off the table as far as any question, whatever the question might be. Which kid I like the most? I try not to. I'm not going to answer that one. Religion, what my plans are for the channel, how I really felt about a game, any single thing you want to ask me, I will try to have that kind of open relationship, open conversation. If you want me to rank my games of the month, if you give me a list of, 10 Kickstarters that I talked about for the month and ask me to rank them, I will do that. I've had people ask me, like, I'm like, Freedom 5 is a great game, you should back that. Endless Winter's a great game, you should back that. And people will comment, like, which one should you get? And I'll say, Endless Winter. I don't care how much I like a game. I don't care how much I think you'll enjoy Freedom 5. I will still tell you what my preferences are because they're my preferences. And holding that back under the guise of not hurting a game, it seems weird. Get both of them, by the way. They're both good games. I'm hyped about both. In any case, this has been fun. I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this video. And really, 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 really have a good one.